What's wild to me, South Carolina is 0-2, and I mean, let's just face it, is most likely, unless there's a massive turnaround, they're on pace for what I predict in the preseason, which would be a 3-7 season. And what's crazy is I think if they finish with that record or worse, at this point, it doesn't feel like it's going to be because of the offense. It's going to be because of the defense, which is the most maddening thing. If I'd have told you the day Will Muschamp was hired that in year 5, the defense would still be at best average, at worst extremely suspect and a liability, would you have believed me if I'd have told you that?
No, probably not. I mean, would I've guessed we would have been on multiple offensive coordinators? Of course, just because that was part of the course. But just, I mean, for the defense to play.
And I tip my cap to Florida. I tip my cap to Florida too, because obviously Kyle Trask, Kyle Pitts, Kadarius Toney, all those weapons. I talked about going in the game. One of the best offenses and one of the most dynamic offenses in the entire country. Dan Mullen, an offensive guru, but again, it's year 5. Safety play is still abysmal. Outside of J.C. Horn and and Israel Mukuamu, I'll say, even though I really feel like every now and then Israel Mukuamu disappears. Outside of those two guys, though, and I give credit to John Dixon, he played a solid game, but as a whole, because I talked about this in the preseason, Alex, I know I've been bringing it up a lot, but I'm just making the point that I said in the preseason, if the offense sputters, it is what it is. But it will be a bigger indictment on Will Muschamp as a head football coach if this offense is average again. Because it's like, what's the point? You hired him to have an elite defense. You thought that was the one thing you could bank on. And I'll be honest, because you're talking about the stats, and you look at the stats, and they don't look that bad. But I don't know if you felt this way, Alex. And I'm not trying to take anything away from the defense, but I felt like Florida let off the gas pedal in the second half. Like when they got up 38-14, I don't think Florida was quite as – because it felt like to me, if they really wanted to score, they were scoring at will. I mean, if they wanted to score, they could do so. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, it's one thing to predict it because I picked 41-20 during the week. It's one thing to pick it, but then to see it on the field and all these guys that have been so highly touted on the defensive side of the ball, all these recruits, and it's supposed to be like I'm retiring the phrase defensive guru when I speak of Will Muschamp because there's just no way you can be a defensive guru and be in year 5 at your school at the University of South Carolina and not put a defense on the field that's any better than the one we're seeing right now.
Yeah, you mentioned looking at the stats, and yeah, if you just blindly looked at the stats, yeah, it wouldn't look that bad. But what's frightening about it is they were lethally efficient. Is I think where that really comes down to. Because if you look at it, they had 19 more yards than we did in total, but they scored 38 points, only possessing the ball for 23 minutes,
right? And
they averaged almost 10 yards an attempt in the passing game. So that's a tough look.
What was your thoughts on that long Kadarius Toney touchdown where you had 5 guys around him and he squirts the ball?
That is going to be a meme on Muschamp's tombstone in much the same way that those 2 Florida guys blocking each other was scant 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Or 8 years ago. Who knows how long
for sure. Was. I mean, it's some of the most porous tackling you'll ever see. And because I think there's fantastic young talent on the defense too. I take a look at, Jordan Burch, Zach Pickens, those guys. I think there is talent on the defensive side of the football.
Is Jordan Burch playing?
Jordan Burch did make a play on Saturday. Jordan Burch did make a play. He did make a play. So, and Zach Pickens as well has been a force inside. Now, again, I think there are other nice pieces, but as a whole, this defense is just not getting it done.